Well, hello, computer nerds, electronics geeks, retro computing enthusiasts, YouTubers of all sorts with a technological interest. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, this is going to be episode, 12? Of me trying to get this old Teletek Systemaster single board S-100 computer back up and running again. And I can report some success, but it's be careful what you wish for kind of success. So I got the daughter board working. Let me zoom in on it so you can see it a little better. It's very tall, although it's hard to tell from this angle. It's quite tall, and that's because of a mistake I made, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But it works. So basically, what I wanted was a system that was basically instant on with BASIC in it. What I had was a system where I had a minimal monitor in here, in only 2K of EEPROM. And what I had to do was I had to load BASIC into it via sending it from the terminal, sending a file from the terminal. And, you know, it took a little while. It was a little inconvenient. I wanted something that was instant on with BASIC. So I've got a much bigger ROM here. I needed at least 16K of space to get my monitor and Grant Searle's implementation of Microsoft BASIC in here. So I've got a 28C256 EEPROM here. I'm only using the lower bank of it. I can actually have switches here on the daughter board. I can switch it to use either the upper or lower bank of 16K. Right now we're just using the lower 16K bank, and it works. Okay, let me give you a look at the screen over here. Get a good focus on it. All right, so if I reset the system, reach over here and push the reset button, the monitor restarts, and one of the options is to start BASIC, cold or warm. We'll go with cold. Memory top, just hit enter, and look at that, we got 32K of RAM to play with. Okay, now the last time I showed you BASIC running on this, we had 48K of RAM to play with. What happened? My EEPROM over here is only taking up 16K of space. Where did that other 16K go? Well, that was one of the problems I ran into building this. And it's kind of complicated, and I don't know how much depth I want to go into it, because I'll tell you right up front, I'm starting to think the daughter board was a bad idea, and I may just take it off and go back to the way it was. The way the Systemaster is set up, and it is set up a little strange, I have to say. So where did that 16K of RAM go? Well, it's a quirk of the way the Systemaster is designed, and I think I'm running up against some limitations that were built into this thing. Some expectations by the engineers who designed it about how it would be used. And they did not foresee what I'm trying to do with it, obviously, because there's just a lot of limitations built into this thing. First off, they never expected anybody would want to plug an EEPROM into it, or I guess EEPROMs weren't even a thing then, bigger than 8K bytes in size. Because even if I get out the soldering iron and the bodge wire and I make the changes on this that I've lamented having to do in the last couple of episodes, because they didn't include real jumpers on the darn thing. You know, I actually have to cut wire traces and I have to add bodge wires in order to use an EEPROM bigger than 2K on this. And I wanted 16K. And the biggest this can handle is 8K. So I came up with the daughter board idea. And I'll go into it in some detail, but I'm not going to, you know, just belabor the point, because I'm really thinking that this has turned out to be not such a great idea. Where did my schematic for the daughter board go? Here it is. So helps if it's right side up. Basically, let me focus a bit. Basically what I do is I take out the existing EEPROM and I take out this PAL chip over here. I build a daughter board that plugs into their sockets. I put the PAL chip back in. I steal some signals from the PAL chip, okay? And of course I've got all of the signals for the EEPROM socket up here. I add an extra address decoding chip down here, 74LS138. That's that one there, and some jumpers, and hey, I'm good to go, right? Suddenly I've got 16K of EEPROM, where before I only had 2K. Perfect, right? Well, not exactly. Like I said, the board isn't really designed to address more than 8K. And that's only if I make the changes to the jumpers and the bodge wires. So it's kind of stuck in 2K mode. Now I tried to just go around that, and actually I was very successful with it. Just did my own address decoding and enabled the EEPROM when I want it enabled, not when it wants it enabled. The problem with that is that I got RAM memory down here that's going to be enabled at the same time as the EEPROM is enabled. So they're going to conflict. Now, I knew there was a way to disable some of the RAM. And it's right in the manual about how to disable some of the RAM. And they have actual jumpers. Real jumpers they used for that. Why they didn't use them for the EEPROM, I don't know. But they used actual jumpers so you can reconfigure the RAM memory. It has fixed and selectable blocks of RAM. And I can deselect a block of RAM that's conflicting with the EEPROM. So I did that, but unfortunately it's very coarse. I had to deselect the whole lower 32K. So I lost half my RAM just in order to make this work. So that kind of stinks. And then there was another problem that came along, okay? I didn't have a RAM conflict anymore, but it still didn't work. It took me a while to figure out what the problem was. And well, if you deselect a block of RAM and then you address memory in that area, it assumes you're addressing memory off the board on the bus. So it enables the bus drivers to put data on the bus from the data bus from the S-100 bus. So I was still getting a conflict. I was getting data conflict. Whatever was on the bus drivers was getting put on the bus and conflicting with what was in the EEPROM. I should have seen that coming. That was my bad there. I didn't see that conflict coming. So, quick and dirty solution, I just pulled the bus buffers right out of the sockets there. Really, I only needed to take one out because one is one direction and one is the other direction. I couldn't even be bothered to figure out which was which. I just yanked them both out, and hey, it works. You know, it works. We're functional. But with only, 32K of RAM, still that's a fair amount of RAM for running basic programs. It's nothing to sneeze at, really. But I have also lost expansion functionality. I can't plug this into an S-100 bus now and talk to other cards. And that's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem because I would actually like to do that. I've recently acquired, get it over here, where you can see it. I've recently acquired a nice S-100 backplane and some prototyping boards, and I had plans for adding some stuff and plugging the Systemaster into this. I've been working on a chassis for it. All this is probably going to wind up in another video. But, all that's out the window if I can't actually get this thing to play nice on the bus, which I'm not going to be able to do with the data bus buffers yanked out. So, yeah. Like I said, be careful what you wish for. I've got my Instant On system with BASIC installed. It's there, it works, but That's basically all I've got. All my other plans for this thing are kind of out the window. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to just take the daughter board back off and work within the limits built into this thing. Now, I need to look and see if I can compress all of this software that I've got into this down into 8K. If I can, that would make this work a lot better. I'd still have to do the trace cutting and the bodge wire installation. But at this point, you know, the price of keeping this thing original is just getting too high. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and make the modifications at some point, which, you know, I've been loath to do that because I want to keep this as original as possible, but it's looking like there's really no way to do what I want to do without making the modifications to the board. Gonna have to do it. So, yeah. But, you know, if I can compress everything I want on here into 8K, then I should just be able to make those modifications, plug, you know, an 8K by 8 EEPROM into the board, and have what I want. I'm just not sure I can compress it all into something that small, so I may still end up having to load this from the terminal over time. So, yeah. Oh, decisions. But I think I am going to just, for now, abandon the daughter board idea. I'm kind of proud of myself for getting it working, but I think it was kind of a bad idea from the start. You know, it just isn't working out. So anyway, there's that. I've temporarily removed the floppy emulator because it wasn't working and it was always in the way. So, you know, if I can get the floppy emulator working someday, or a real floppy drive, you know, I might be able to get this thing up and running the way it originally was intended. That 2K EEPROM on there was just a bootloader, just to load the operating system off of a floppy. Of course, it was an 8-inch floppy. Not 100% certain that the copies of the operating system disks I have are any good, because I haven't been able to get them to work with the floppy emulator. Another possibility is just, I've talked about it before, building a CF card interface for this thing. A lot of people do that with their retro computers. The hardware is dead simple. It's just a matter of software. So if I have a CF card emulator, I probably could build up a CPM system and get it on here and get this thing booting CPM off of the CF card. So that's a possible way to go. That's one reason I bought these S-100 prototyping cards and the bus backplane board, because I was planning on probably building the CF card interface and some other stuff on one of these. So that's a possibility. Now, another possibility is, if I do build, you know, the whole backplane and prototyping card system, I can just leave this block of RAM in here disabled, and put the EEPROM on one of these boards and let it read it from the bus like it wants to, rather than on board. And I can put the bus buffers back in, and I can get it working that way. I could even install the missing 16K of RAM on this board, or one of these boards, and get the system back up to 48K with BASIC installed again. I mean, it's the long way around to do it, but I could do it. If I'm going to build up a system, that's the way. I could wind up with an instant-on system with BASIC, 48K of RAM, plus I could put the CF card hardware on here and have it, they give the ability to boot into CPM off of that and have a full-fledged CPM system like this was actually designed to be. So that's a possibility down the road too. And like I said, I've been working on a chassis that would fit that backplane and at least 4 or 5 cards. So yeah, okay. And there'll probably be more about the chassis and the backplane in probably another odds and ends from my workbench video in the future. Because, you know, I'm still trying to figure that out. And whether or not the Systemaster makes it into it or not, that's kind of an open question. I may go with a different board. It's hard to say. Something a little more general purpose, maybe, that's not so locked down, you know? So we'll see. It's hard to say. So watch for, you know, future videos along that line. You know, otherwise, like I said, I'm pretty happy that I actually managed to design the thing, build it, and get it working. I did make a few mistakes, and I said I'd tell you about those. There were a few wiring mistakes, but I found those pretty early on and fixed them. And once again, I've lost my schematic. Basically, I just reversed a couple of wires coming off of the address decoding chip, the 74LS138 down here. I just reversed a couple of wires on that, and it didn't work, and I thought, I went through it and double checked everything. There's the reversed wires. Okay, that was the problem. Okay, so that was really the only hardware issue I had. Well, the only design issue with the, you know, the electrical design issue. I had some mechanical design issues. I made the mistake of thinking that these headers, which I'm using to hold the board up, they're like Arduino headers. You know, that they're great because you can plug them into each other and you can stack boards, which is what I wanted to do to build the daughter board. I wanted to stack one board on top of another board. So I had these plugging into the IC sockets. And well, first mistake I made was these aren't long enough, so I had to put a second set of headers on there just to jack the board up high enough so I had some room and I could actually see to get the pins lined up to get them in the sockets. That was a nightmare. It was too short, and there was no way for me to actually see in there and reach in with little needle-nose pliers and guide all the pins into all the socket holes. So I said, well, I'm just going to have to jack it up, put a second level of headers on it so it's high enough I can see what's going on under the board, guide all the pins in where they need to be. Okay, that worked. So the board got taller. Next mistake was thinking that these headers would work as IC sockets, that you could just plug an IC in them and make good connection. No, doesn't work. The ICs don't make a good connection in there. The legs on the ICs are just too narrow. Some of them don't connect at all. Some connect intermittently. So, you know, that didn't work at all. I figured out pretty quickly that I was not getting the signals through to all of the IC chips. So, one way I fixed that problem was just put my ZIF socket, which has header pins on the bottom of it, soldered onto the bottom of it, into the top headers there. So that was an easy problem fixed. And then I had to find another set of, what I basically did was I found another set of headers that the IC chips would fit in, and I stuck them in here on either side of this chip, on either side of the PAL chip. So that raised that PAL chip way up, but at least it's making good connection now. So everything works as far as it works with the limitations of the board now, just with those mistakes. But keep that in mind. If you're building something using these Arduino type headers, they will plug into each other, but IC chips won't plug into them worth a darn. So you can't use them as IC sockets. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So what I think I'm going to do from here is I'm probably just going to take this daughter board back off, put the thing back to the way it was, put the PAL chip back in its socket, put the 2K EEPROM I've been using up till now to hold my monitor program back in the socket, and keep working with that. I'll just load the software from the terminal. It actually loads pretty quickly. I was slowing down the data rate once BASIC was up and running to send BASIC listings over, because the BASIC interpreter is really slow. You know, it can't take the data very fast, but the monitor's written in assembly. I can send dated it really, really quickly, about as fast as it can go over the serial port. I can send it. So I can load software into this. You know, I'll have the full 64K of RAM to play with. So I think I'll go back to the way it was originally, shelve the daughter board idea, maybe move that onto an accessory card on the bus at some point in the future as an option to have an instant on boot to basic. So, but for now, we're going back to original. Okay, and with that, I think I will end this episode, episode 12. Episode 12 hasn't been too lucky. Maybe episode 13 will be lucky 13. We'll see. And something good will happen. I'm not sure when episode 13 is going to come out. Something good's going to happen before I make another episode. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever. Give the video a thumbs up, give it a like, and subscribe to see future videos. Check out my main channel, too, where I've got lots of videos on scrapping out e-waste and recovering precious metals, and lots of other stuff over there too. So check that out, subscribe over there too. And I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.